Nearly finished listening to the Big Finish release, Dark Gallifrey, Morbius Part 1. And boy, did they do everything they to make me hate it. Even it's quite good, but I'm not sure it's good enough to continue with. Right? Okay, here's the annoying thing about it. There's a voiceover at the beginning which sets the scene, which says there was a great civil war in Gallifrey, and Morbius led the forces and was eventually disposed and destroyed, and that's where. That sounded awesome. That's the thing I wanted to bloody hear, right? That was the story they wanted to. So now it's like later they're on the Sister of the Khan's planet. They're on Khan with it's essentially a not steampunk. It's like a steam pirate punk. I don't know what to call it. It's like a piratey sci-fi boat-ridden thing with which isn't bad. Just got which has a lot of women in it. A lot of women, and the worst cover. The cover literally made me hate it.
Yes, we've just. I mean, to be fair, it is called the Sisterhood rather than the Brotherhood of Khan. But on the other hand, you would.
But why not call it the Sisterhood of Khan then? Do a show called that.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, it's not very progressive, is it? Why aren't there any men in the Sisterhood of Khan?
Absolutely. But Maura, why is she wearing a bidet on her head? Somebody explain that to me. It looks like or a potty, actually, the actual story itself isn't bad, right? I'm not sure it's good enough to get me to continue with it.
Remind me who's writing this one, mate. Is it?
It's Tim Foley, and it was supposed to be a 3-disc box set telling a complete story, right? Like telling like an audio novel, right? Which is a good idea. Right, and the story is interesting, but again, it's like, and actually, they just made a movie of it. You know that bit in Dracula where he's on a boat and everybody dies and he's the only one who survives.
That's right. Yeah.
We're right. When you make that the entirety of the story, you're like, what? All the other bits, what you don't want to have ripping out a virgin's throat.
It's a fascinating character. In having Sam West play him, they've got a bit of a it's heavy artillery that they haven't used. A man who loves Doctor Who, who's an actor that the British public like. He's always been in good things. Downton Abbey, All Creatures Great and Small, the list goes on and on and on. And yet they're not pulling the trigger on him till now. And when they do, they put him out in this where you can't see the bugger.
You can't see it, and he's not really in it either. He's in it as a background character a little bit. But it's why call it Morbius, right? And again, the voiceover story, backstory is the story, right? That shit they should have done like a Game of Thrones, like political thriller, devolving into a civil war, like House of the Dragon, right? And it would have been and they would have been able to do it. They should have been able to do it. It would have made him a much stronger character, much more interesting character.
This has that kind of potential, and obviously I haven't heard it yet. But from how you're speaking, and the fact that this, like the last few of Big Finish's sort of bigger swings at something more conceptual and long and rolling, it seems to be missing the mark on a fundamental level. And yet,
so look, I would say
back to this. I mean, perfect.
This was the model they should have followed, right? It's like 4 parts, set in different parts.
Ian Diaz always laughs at me whenever I say how good this was. He simply won't believe me.
What? Like, why would he believe it? This is excellent.
I don't know.
It's the strangest thing. So, like, rather than spending $35 on this Morbius thing, I would say this is the way to go, right? Davros, it's really excellent, right? It's really excellent.
When was this released, mate? Is it longer ago than I realised?
Yeah. This is 2020 was the re-release. The re-release. 2006, and you can tell, right? You can really tell. Better times.
18 years is a long time, but they've proven they can do this.
But can they still do? Listen, look, 20 years is a long time, and you're older now. You're slower. You're tireder, right? And that's how I would describe Big Finish now: older, slower, tireder. Right? It's I think there's a lot of DEI stuff forced on them by BBC. But also, look, the lovely world they live in, it's like they're just disconnected from reality. But anyway, this was something that's written to be a good story, right? Which I wouldn't say that of. I mean, it's not bad, right? It's not bad, but it's not good enough. Really, it's also not good enough. Have you heard this rumor? Right? This is the craziest rumor. By the way, next box set rumor. Maybe you've heard something along the same lines. Season 7, right? I'm thinking season 7. I tried to find the video before. Lee Binding put something out on TikTok showing the background color, right, of the next box set. And to me, it looked like season 8.
Yeah.
Look at I mean, I know they've been working on it.
I have seen this, but in this instance, I can honestly say I have heard, and sometimes I do hear things. In this instance, hand on heart, I've heard nothing. I have no idea what's next. I've no idea when it's going to be released. I mean, the press release is coming, I should say. My guess is usually it's either Tuesdays or Thursdays they go with that.
1 second.
Yeah,
I've just found the video. I've just found it here. So we can have I would say a bit of a scoop, but this is a reasonable bit of a scoop. But we'll get back to the insane story in a second.
Who collection news. I'm Lee Binding, I'm the artist behind them, and I'm just about to show you what the colours of the next collection box set are going to be. And here we go. Look at this.
So this, to me, it seems like the orange, the yellow, the blue. It certainly feels earlier, doesn't it?
I've got no inclination towards this.
You know product design. This feels like season 7. I mean, it doesn't feel like one of the monochrome seasons, because I think that'd be more like blue and gold. But like the orange really ties it to Pertwee. Orange
particularly if Inferno is in the box set.
Right, exactly. Well, obviously.
Look at this. What sort of colours are these? Is this a gold? Is it a brown? Is this kind of looks yellow? This is kind of like bluish, kind of maybe. So is this a kind of 60s? Brownie's very 70s, but it might be gold. It could be something from 1996.
The Doctor's always in the dead
it's not 96, was it?
The Doctor is always in the dead centre. The Doctor, all the way through that season, pretty much wore jet black, didn't he?
Through what? It was season 7, you said?
Season 7.
Oh, he had the cape, the red lining of that, and yeah, I guess so.
It's season 25, isn't it yet? Is it?
Right, but this doesn't feel like season 25 will be different colours. I think season 25 will be. I mean, I think they will lean into silver quite a bit. Silver, blues, maybe reds. Right? I don't know. Yeah. But here, let's see if this gives any more clues.
Who knows? Just these are the colours. Speculate wildly in the comments if you want to. I hope you enjoy it when it comes out.
So yeah, I think it's imminent to be released.
Is that the actual artwork sort of? I mean, I did hear that it was about to be announced. I did hear that. I just haven't heard which one it is.
Right.
Is that the actual artwork blurred out, or is it just his colour?
No, because he makes it on layers, and that's obviously the background layer.
Okay.
That's what I was saying. Anyway, I'll say enough of stuff that makes sense and we care about. Let's go and look at this. Okay, but have you heard this rumor? This is insane. So blah blah blah. Season 14. Millie Gibson leaving. Totally not fired. Totally fired. Why Ruby Sunday might be a Time Lord in Doctor Who? Let's say Juliet Landau and Ruby Sunday represent the first new pairing of Doctor companions just before the Chibnall range with the former showrunner, largely favoring TARDIS team. Okay, so one-on-one dynamic. Davis' restoration on formula is into Doctor Who season 15, but almost immediately changed Gibson to Sethu. However, the coming comparisons to Switch may not be all that it seemed at first glance. With Davis writing some of the best Doctor Who stories of all time. Okay, fine. Tell me why you think she's a Time Lord. Okay. A few things that Ruby Sunday don't add up. That doesn't mean she's a Time Lord. Not only is her genetic lineage a complete mystery, but the goblins in the Church from Ruby Road seem unusually fascinated by her. As did the Doctor, by the way. I'm not sure if you saw the episode, but I'm not sure if people watching have seen the episode. The Doctor is definitely on a mission to stalk Ruby Sunday, right? That is very, very clear from I think even the first watch of it. Seem unusually fascinated by her unexplained connection to the enigmatic Mrs. Flood, who wasn't enigmatic at the beginning, right? Anita Dobson played Mrs. Flood, and at the beginning of the episode, the Doctor's TARDIS is in the blocking her way, and she says, "What is this thing? Get it out of the way!" Right? And then later, when Millie Gibson, when Ruby's going to go in the TARDIS, right? She walks around it and she looks over at Anita Dobson and she's like, "In you go, criminal life!" Right? And she goes,
"That's it."
Right. And then she looks to camera, right? Breaks the third wall and say, "What's the problem? You never seen a TARDIS before?" So something happened in between those two appearances of Mrs. Flood, where now she knows what TARDIS is.
Yes.
So who knows what that is? People are saying maybe she's Ruby Sunday. I don't know. Okay, fine. So these are things that are up. Undoubtedly come as a shock when it's revealed. So the theory that Ruby Sunday could unknowingly be a Time Lord holds water. Wow! Like 2 and 2 equals 664 million.
It holds no water whatsoever. It's just something that it's just an empty bit of speculation because things are going to touch quiet again. That's all.
Do you remember the game show 3-2-1 with Ted Holness and Dusty the Bin?
Of course I do. Yeah.
There you go. You go in.
Yeah, the clues. Yeah.
Right. Those clues were insane. It's like this. You add 3 together with another 3. What do you get? The square root of infinity, which means, yes, it's a Ford Cortina. What? Made no sense, right? Made no sense. So Ruby could simply be the first generation.
Well, you and I have spoken. Right.
Oh, you still there? Yeah, sorry. Hello?
I'm still here, yeah. Well, you and I have spoken several times. Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You and I have spoken several times about how people can't stand in this day and age not being right. And I think it's just a case of if they lay claim to every single possible hit theory that anyone could conceivably have about this character over as long a period of time, then they will invariably at some point be right. They would have said something that turns out to be sort of right, half right, kind of right, and they'll take that win rather than take any possible sort of L or admit that they have no idea. I'm happy to admit I've no idea.
Right, no,
and to be honest, I don't really care. And the fact that I don't care is on Russell T Davies.
Right. By the way, I think he is toast beyond toast.
It's Russell's fault that I don't care about this stuff.
Yeah, no, because it's not that engaging. I think this new era is you got that new report about transgender kids with the NHS stopping doing treatment. The Sam report, is it?
I've been sent this by a very invested party. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I've been talking a little bit about it to people that I know. I mean, I don't know much about this sort of thing. I'd never heard of the Tavistock Centre, for example, until Lee told me about it. Problem being told me about it, and. Right. Some of these matters, it's not that I haven't got a take on them or that I don't care about these issues. Of course I do. I've raised 6 children. Of course I do. I'm very invested in my own family. But there's this idea that as a Doctor Who podcaster, all of a sudden one must have a take about these matters and these issues, which are really quite complicated.
This is what
it's nothing to do with Doctor Who.
Done for the bloody show.
Yeah, of course. And so I will be reading all of this and seeing where it interconnects with Doctor Who, with the BBC. So I am interested, of course I am. But the amount of people who seem to want to talk about this rather than Doctor Who, which is what I do. It bemuses me a little.
But again, weirdly, it's this is what part of Doctor Who now, because he insisted on making it like a central part. But there's a massive backlash going on. It's called the Sam Report. Like, what's the name? The guy who did.
It's called the Cass. It's called the Cass Report.
Cass Report. That's the one. That's the one.
I will read it, and I will have an opinion about it. Like I have an opinion about most things. But
so here's the thing: this will get Doctor Who in the headlines, but the Sun now, and the tabloids in general, they know Doctor Who is headline clickbait, right? They know trans issues headline clickbait. So when they have Yasmin Finney in it, as we know we're going to have, and they're promoting. Which is the reason Ian isn't watching it, right? In David isn't watching because they are promoting transgenderism, which I think is a terrible thing to do, right? They're going to be saying, well, look at this insidious propaganda. That's like we know this hurts children now. And this is aimed at children. I think he is going to be in a shitstorm. And he pretty much deserves it, right?
So
Why can't you make it not about being trans? How about that?
You see, I don't know who's commissioned this report, whether it's the government, the NHS, whether it's the IBA. I don't know who's commissioned this report on what behalf.
Apparently, it's super pucker. It's super kosher. She's been doing it for 4 years.
I don't know how much, whether its origins are in. And are in relation to how it connects to broadcasting in particular. So I don't know anything about it. And I will read up on it, particularly if it tracks back to the phenomena of the influencer, particularly the trans influencer, because obviously Russell T Davies cast a trans influencer in his latest take on Doctor Who. So that's where it could, but not knowing the origins of it, who it's aimed at, what the data that they've retrieved, what the aim for it is, who commissioned it.
So essentially, this is changing NHS policy for gender-affirming care. They're saying even socially transitioning is now detrimental, as we all fucking knew, as everybody knew.
So it's a firm judgment. See, I've been sent articles from the Guardian and from the Daily Mail. I've been sent this and that and the other screenshots. I'd rather read the actual report.
There's so much spin to debunk it.
Exactly.
But literally, somebody spent 4 years and a lot of money to convince insane people of the bleeding obvious, right?
Well, yes.
Yeah, I heard what's the name? Graham Linden being interviewed by Juliet Brewer on Talk TV, who had his life destroyed because he said this was wrong. Right, he's the guy who wrote Father Ted. They wanted him to remove his name from the.
There's a man who was put in the situation where his life became about these matters, kind of against his will. It's something he had an opinion on, and he got embroiled in it.
Right.
And so he had to seek because his life became completely about this. And so he sought the further reading. He knows, he's steeped in it. If I want to find out about any of these matters on any level, I would go and look at what someone like Graham was saying, and people on the other side as well, the other side of the argument, India Willoughby, and listen to what they're saying as well, and decide who I agree with. People who are more active, not necessarily activists, but people who are active, who are invested, who are authoritative, and have loudish voices that can speak from an informed position, whichever side of the aisle they're on, rather than just some gobby, some gobby person on YouTube who may talk about Star Wars 6 days of the week and decides to make a video and decides to make a 10-minute video about this because it might get a few clicks. I'd rather read what it's actually about.
The interesting thing is, this report definitely highlights that any investigation has been stymied by the lack of ability to have a conversation, right? Because you're shouted that you're a bigot when you just ask, "Wait, is this okay?" Right? So that was the toxicity around the debate.
Yes, one is discouraged from speaking about it at all.
Right.
This issue, which could potentially, if it's as widespread as some parties would have you believe, then it could affect every family in Britain. So, and yet one is discouraged from talking about it, despite the fact it could affect people that you love. So there's that. We're also, it's expected that we don't speak about it if it's not about us, because it's not our issue. If it's not about us, then we should shut up.
That's just an excuse to shut you up.
Of course it is. But most importantly of all, they insist that we don't think about these matters.
Yes.
It's as if thought is the most damaging thing of all. They don't want you to think about it. Why would that be? Are these arguments really that fragile that somebody simply thinking it through in their own heads is damaging in some way? That interests me. That rings alarm bells. That's the same with whatever issue. If somebody tells you to not think about it, and you think, well, hang on. Okay. You're supposed to just walk out blindly into traffic and not think about that.
I would say there's a 2-point guide to if you're right or wrong about anything. So, is what I think, or feel, does that match completely what social media algorithms tell me is the right thing to think and feel? That's part one, right? And the part two is, if I think about it, right, is this thing completely fucking insane that I believe that, kids cutting off their bollocks is a good thing, right? Yeah, in that case, you've lost it. Yeah, you're being controlled. That's a fair assessment. Fine. Anyway, let's try to get through this nonsense. So Ruby Sunday, unknown to be a Time Lord, holds water somehow. She doesn't have the knowledge or immense intellectual talents of other Time Lords.
They know what you're thinking. They know what you're thinking about this. Never mind anything else.
I'm trying to pull the thread of how did you work that out? Hold on. Okay, Ruby could also simply be in her first regeneration, meaning she hasn't undergone the transformative process yet. As such, I mean, maybe as much she may only look 19 years old, and that is her genuine age. Ruby could be one of the younger. I don't give a fucking hell. Verada Cici playing Ruby in Doctor Who season 15 would be better than a new companion. Actually, I agree with that. I do agree with that. But look, I'm sorry. It just seems they were more interested in having a non-white TARDIS than making a good show. And I understand
although I think that is possible, I do think that for us to claim that when we haven't seen, we don't know when her character is introduced into the series. For all we know,
I said seem. It does seem that way.
But we do get people stating this as fact quite a lot. This is about a character that we've never seen. As far as I'm concerned, for example, if we first meet this character, we could first meet this character in episode 8 of season 1. And she could carry over in the most natural of way, and we might really latch onto her, and she might just drift into this role in the most seamless of ways.
Right.
You just see what I'm saying? So
yeah. Oh wait. We just don't know. 1 second. The Sydney Sweeney is knocking at my window, wanting to give me a blowjob. Maybe that could happen. Okay, interesting Doctor Who news. Let me go on to this. So the little-known Romana, Juliet Landau. Right, she is the Romana after Lala Ward, right? And I think Juliet Landau, you remember from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when they first got her, it was such a coup because Buffy was still huge, right? Here, let me pull up the Big Finish page about it. Doink. Thinking about it. Oh, here we go, Doink. Juliet Landau. How about having a bit of there's a few of them. There we go, doink. Fine. So she played Romana, to my mind, 3 times. And I think quite effectively all of them. Let me pull this up. Share screen, doink. I still haven't got through the Morbius release. Every time I say, okay, I got to listen to it, I can't do it, right? I can't do it. So this one came out when? 2015. And this one, 2014, right? But this one, this is the first one, 2013. Right? So this one they had, was Juliet Landau in it? Who was she playing? I can't believe she was in a Gallifrey without playing Romana, right? That would be great. Okay, so she played like a future Romana, an alternate Romana. I can't remember exactly what it is. $37.95. Fuck off. No, you're having a laugh. You're for 4 discs. 4 discs and maybe a hand job, right? All right, from a young Lala Ward, right? And that's like if Louise Jameson isn't available of any age, frankly. I'll take old Louise Jameson. I bet she knows how to give a good handy. Very intelligent woman. So this is what was it? The 3 Romanas essentially. This release dragged on a bit. It was 2 discs long, and it was like would have been better as a 2 discs. It just seemed it would have been better as a one disc. But yeah, it was good having you. Yeah, you had the 3 Roman. No, I think they brought in Juliet Landau to replace what's her name? Who had just passed away, Mary Stam. Is my guess, right? That's probably what they did, right? Anyway, she was good there, but I think she came into her own. This is a release at $16.44. That's actually a decent price, right? And this is kind of a standalone thing. I really quite like this. So you have Ace working for the Time Lords. So she's been sent to learn how to be a Time Lord agent. In this future Gallifrey, there's Romana, played by Juliet Landau, and Gallifrey, and Omega's in it. I can't remember the detail. I just remember it was really good. Intervention Earth, right? Really genuinely like this. Scott Hancock and David Llewellyn, they did an excellent job, right? They did a really excellent job. So anyway, so the news. So here's the interesting news. That we're about to get more Juliet Landau Romana. Yeah, you can hear it from the horse's mouth. No pun intended.
And then I have 2 other projects. One that is going to be announced. I'm not allowed to talk about it until June, but another.
So I always thought her English accent was real, even though it just overblown. She played it up for TV. For a character she played in Buffy. And there's who's got like the thick American. I like, okay, I know it.
Other one, which is going to be announced in May, which I may have done a recording for with Big Finish Audio, which James had worked with, and I had done the Doctor Who audiobooks before.
James Masters still looks good. Right, still like that look. He's got with it. He stuck with it. He basically kept in shape. It was like that all worked for him. Good for you, James Masters.
In conjunction with the BBC, and there may have been a project that was written for me that I may have recorded a couple 2 seasons of that we may be able to talk about soon, and it's may be really fucking awesome.
I wonder what it is. I mean, obviously it's her as Romana. Right. I mean, if it's like War Council, fuck off. I'm not interested. I could. Your hiring practices at Big Finish, which you call diverse and inclusive, I say are more inclusive of cunts, right? Who are just lack moral fiber, which is why I think their stories of heroism always fail, right? That's why the woke can't tell stories of heroism. That's why I'm watching Masters of the Air for the second time, and I'm loving it, right? I'm loving it. Why? Because I like heroism. It's noble. It's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. And we don't see it anymore because, heroism requires sacrifice. It requires work. And that's the most terrifying thing in the world, to these empty little fucks. Anyway.
It's really, it may be really, really funny.
Listen, I'm very excited to see what it is, frankly. Right? I genuinely am. Is it crap? Is it going to be crap? Is it going to be good? I hope it's a War Doctor thing, frankly. Wouldn't that be great if she's in both those War Doctor sets? That's how it sounds most likely, right? Because I think, how many are there? There's 2 or 3. I don't know. 1 second. Let's have a look. The War Doctor. Yeah, 1 second. Look at the news. Quickest way to find it. So not interested in this box set. I'm trying to force myself to watch this one. A War Doctor Rises. Is it down for 1 or 2 sets? Yeah, 2 volumes. So if it's something they've already announced, but they haven't announced her involvement, she's probably an ongoing character in both those box sets. And I think it's a perfect setting for her, right? I think it's a very strong idea. I think, and look, I was already down for these because I like the design of them, right? I like that they're one unified story rather than individual stories, right? I think it's makes them much stronger. So yeah, it sounds like she's like the companion or something. Yeah, War Doctor with the future Romana. I'm in, right? That just sounds awesome, right? That really genuinely sounds good. Hopefully, Doctor Who won't be, in the shit house at that time, right? Which is highly likely, ladies and gentlemen, highly likely. Sure, blimey, I haven't even got to what's the name yet? Thinking of Star Trek Discovery. I'll get there, ladies and gentlemen. But we have to look at this story. How Doctor Who's Beetle episode came to be detailed by showrunner. Okay, so this is it just blows my mind how they're rolling this out badly. This was supposed to be the second launch, right? You're supposed to have a second launch built in. They did that with Dalek, right? They had several mini launches. They had Rose, right? And then they had like just traditional Doctor Who the next couple of days, couple of weeks. And then they had a kind of relaunch with Aliens of London World War III. And then they had another big relaunch with Dalek, right? All these things to push. This is the first week. Again, put in both episodes, which are disparate, separate episodes, back to back, is a epically terrible idea. Obviously, forced on them by Disney, who don't know what they're doing. Returning Doctor Who showrunner Rossi Davis explains the backstory of how season 14 episode in which the Doctor meets the Beatles came to be. Well, I'm quite. Listen, I like the Doctor meeting the Beatles. I think Jinxman. So I'm going in with an open mind, right? My cold curmudgeon heart has been lifted by Ian Levine, who's very open-minded. If he can be open-minded, so can I. I'm not going to prejudge it. I think I'm really glad that he's on on Dan's stream, because I feel it's better that I go in as neutral as possible rather than negative. Rossi Davis reveals how Doctor Who's upcoming Beatles-based episode came to be. Davis is returning as showrunner, blah, 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 blah. Yes, we know. Should you go, blah, blah, first Black Doctor, blah, 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 blah. Ruby Sunday, blah, blah, blah. Per Empire, Davis talks about the background for the Doctor Who Season 14 Beatles episode. According to showrunner, the idea of doing a Beatles episode has been floated for years, but always faced the inevitable obstacle of the copyright is too expensive. Well, don't they own all the Beatles performances on Top of the Pops? I think they do. Right, I think that's the deal. Let's let the Davis think of creative ways to make a Beatles-based episode without their music. Check out the full quote below. I knew instinctively you could never play Beatles songs on the screen because copyright is too expensive. So I'm thinking, how would you do a Beatles episode without the Beatles music? And that becomes the entire plot, that they've been sucked out reality, right? That's where the idea came from. Copyright law. There's a young director called Sam Alber who I've been mentoring for a while, and I told him I was going to go back and do Doctor Who. He was just turning and said, "Oh my God, if I had a TARDIS, I'll go back and watch the Beatles." recorded their first album. And I thought for a 21-year-old singer, it must mean the special to the idea. I guess I don't like him being so so into himself, so being good, so like Shooty fucking Gatwa, preening little media darling, mucking into a camera, grinning with glee. And don't get me wrong, if you can bring it as Doctor Who, I am up for it. But everything you're doing outside Doctor Who is turning me off. Right? What you did on camera, I thought was good. Right? What you did on camera, I thought was good. But I don't know what to tell you, darling. I don't know. David's conversation with the young director is not an isolated incident of lasting impact on the Beatles. The British man, deeply embedded within the cultural milieu as the young people today, blah, 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 blah. So who cares? Get Back. Oh, this is fluff beyond fucking fluff. Although Get Back is excellent. What a piece of fluff. Oh, I found that offensively fluff. Frankly, darling. Oh, that's again, offensively fluff. She cried, right? She offensively fluff. 10 Doctor Who episodes that accidentally changed the show forever. Okay. Did they accidentally change the show? I guess we'll go through them now. So I think this is trying to legitimize the loose canon that exists today, right? Which it doesn't really work. Okay, in my mind, Rusty Davies had a chance to fix everything, right? Just bring everything back and fix everything. And he blew it because he's mates with Chris Chibnall and he's a woke cunt, essentially, right? But at this point, right, you would have to set up a new mythology, like as if it was a reboot series with the Doctor. He doesn't have any of his memories. He has his basic memories. He knows how to fly the TARDIS. He knows like some information about Daleks and Cybermen, but doesn't really know much about or where they came from. There's and there's like, so you have that mystery going on, and it basically have him have it turn out over a few seasons story. The arc is resolved by saying that he is the universe rebooted, and you get glimpse of the Doctors from the other universe, but this is a whole new universe. And that's it. And you just move forward, right? You just move forward doing what was great, but pushing things forward rather than constantly looking backwards, which I think is like the biggest mistake of modern Doctor Who, right? Is to be constantly looking backwards while bearing no resemblance to the past whatsoever, right? So, yeah, so it's trying to legitimize that. But they just burn it to the ground so much that, that the only thing now needs like a full reboot that can only, tentatively link to the past. And I would say everything is qualitatively different. Everything after Capaldi. Fine, but let's say the plot points and format changes from Doctor Who's past that inadvertently create its future. Okay, the show's canon is very important, but not anymore. It's bloody not. Doubly so if it's science fiction. Okay, show's canon isn't important, less so if it's science fiction. The only reason it's more important is because for science fiction, because science fiction fans notice these things. It lays out setting, characters around, and generally rules everything how the show works. Well, yeah, that's not really true. The Doctor Who does change its style sheet every few years to stay modern, right? It's standard practice for the creators to write book-length show Bibles. No, it's not. Before a script is even written, and writers will often go to great. I mean, nobody did this before the 90s. Go to great lengths contradicting anything that went before or isn't intended to follow. Again, no, none of this is true. Probably the gold standing of flying by the seat of your pants storytelling of the show has spent 60 years making up as it goes along, constantly evolving and developing without ever stopping to come up with a plan that covers more than a few seasons. Well, okay, that's true. Normally didn't have a plan that covered more than a few stories. One second. Unsurprisingly, having such an approach to world building for over half a century can lead to some ideas being developed way past their original writer's wildest dream. Well, again, that's only in recent years, actually, where the one-off episodes setting the tone for entire eras. Or okay, let's just get to it. What do they got? Deadly Assassin, yes, did legitimately redefine Doctor Who. It redefined Gallifrey. I think in a way that I felt that really worked, right? Ask any Doctor Who and how many lives the Time Lords have, and they all answer 13. But what they may know, what they may know is that this limit, commonly accepted as gospel among Doctor Who fans, the show and latter show writers themselves, was not always part of the mythology. Yeah, no, they had to invent it. It wasn't until 1976, Deadly Assassin, over a decade after the show's original run, that the 12 regeneration limit was mentioned. And again, looking at what's happened post Capaldi, you can't argue that 12 regeneration limit is a really important thing, right? It really, really is very important because it just stops working after that. 12 was mentioned. The Doctor is trapped in a web of intrigue spun by his old enemy, the Master, who returned for the first time since the tragic death of Roger Delgado, who originally played the role. I just realized what this Dark Gallifrey thing from Big Finish Mobius should have been. It should have been like the I, Davros series, which is freaking awesome. Right, sadly, I don't think Mobius is going to be. And the same time, Philip Kingsley and Robert Holmes, this show's producer and script editor, were on their way out, not wanting to leave their successors stuck with an ancient actor they hadn't cast. They decided to leave the Master in a traditional. What's going on? Fine, so it's something about, so the Master who returned first time since Roger Delgado really played the role. Fine, so the head and cast, they decided to leave the Master in a transitional state so that the 12 regeneration limits that will cause the plot device to explain the Master's decrepit zombified appearance. Well, again, these are people who could write. They knew what they're doing. The throwaway line of dialogue has never been forgotten, embedded itself deeply in Doctor Who hive mind, that in 2013, Stephen Moore had to offer dedicate entire Christmas specials getting around the 12 to 13 regeneration life limit. I don't think David Tennant regenerating into the hand should have been a regeneration, but whatever, it's fine. That's quite an impact for a story. Well, again, it was a Gallifrey story. It was a definitive story. It redefined Doctor Who, and it was very good, right? So that's how lore gets changed, right? It wasn't like they were thinking it from the, how are we going to change law? Law got changed, right? So Fear of Indeed, they got to talk about Sonic Screwdriver brilliantly. It's a very good idea to talk about it. So fine. So you got the Sonic Screwdriver and Fury of the Deep. It was there that Big Dependent knew what he had started with the unassuming instrument. That is true. I mean, like, it's so Doctor Who. Right, it's so quirky, it's so bonkers, right? Which on the page it tend to be a regular screwdriver in the strip, but the Sonic stuck around, making a few more prints of the 60s before it really takes center stage in the mid to late 70s as the Doctor's go-to Swiss Army knife. It is a brilliant idea, right, to have the Doctor as a go-to space Swiss Army knife, right? Again, today they use it as a bit of a get-out-jail-free card, I feel, but what can you do? So they blew it up in 82 in the Visitation and very much brought it back for, they're saying by Matt Smith, but Paul McGann, right? I mean, they were very proud to have it back then. Love and Monsters. How did this change Doctor Who forever? Other than introduced a paving slab giving a blowjob, right? Good for you. Which, by the way, okay, this might be me just overthinking this, right? But like Elton, right, when he's getting a blowy, right, from a paving slab Ursula, was it? He's going to have to do the motion with the hand to get the rhythm, right? Because she can't do that. She doesn't have a neck, right? These are the things you do for love. The first series of Russell Davies 2005 Revival went off without a hitch on the screen. Production was far from smooth and a long, intense shooting schedule that reportedly a big factor in Exton's decision to do it. That wasn't the reason. I mean, that wasn't partially, but not really. So attempt to lighten the load. They did the Doctor Light episode. I thought that worked fantastically. Really, I absolutely, because it wasn't really Doctor Light, right? And all the Doctor Light episodes are fantastic. They're inventive. They're clever. Well, you got Love and Monsters. Then you have what's the one with Martha? Blink. Then you got Turn Left. Right? Yeah, they're all really good. They're all really genuinely good. Well, it hadn't been done before since 1965 Mission to Unknown. The episode had long lost in time and importantly featured the Dalek at the height of the 60s Dalek Mania. Yeah, it's fantastic. Love and Monsters had no such help. It would be standalone with no returning villains, next to no budget, and a few short sequences with the Doctor. And while the episode itself was of questionable quality, I loved it. I know a lot of people didn't, but I really did, right? It's one of my favorite episodes. I really enjoyed it. It kickstarted a new trend that led to some of the best episodes in history. Okay, but they're talking about the same ones now. Right? Blink, Midnight, Turn Left. Yeah, these are fantastic, right? Resurrection of the Daleks. Okay, Resurrection of the Dalek. The early 80s was a time of great change for Doctor Who. A new Doctor for the first time in 7 years. New theme tune. Over a decade. Well, no, it was the same theme. New arrangement of it. New production team. And perhaps the least remembered, a new transmission schedule. No, that was a big deal, darling. That was a big deal. At the beginning of season 19, the show moved away from its coveted Saturday slot, where it would twice weekly on weekdays. Well, that was actually a pretty strong slot for the time. I think it was eventually used to kill Doctor Who. The weekday slot, I think, was actually quite good because they were struggling what to do with Doctor Who in a post Star Wars era, right? Where people by this time. Was it 82? Everybody has seen Star Wars, right? Everybody has seen these high-level production values, and BBC could not compete with that. And the Saturday slot, right, is a family slot. It's a family entertainment slot, right? Where it's just not good enough, right? Having these little tweed fractals just wasn't good enough. Which is why moving it to the weekdays, I think, was not a terrible idea. Right, again, because I just don't think it could compete with that was like the Christmas special slot was the Saturday slot. Like now it can, and sadly now it went too far the other way, and I think it's all about like big season finale stuff. So it all worked well and well and good until it ran into scheduling conflict. The '84 Olympics. All right, unable to be aired at its usual time, the BBC daily coverage of and I'm willing to break in the middle of the season. John Nathan Turner had Resurrection Dalek re-edited into 2 45-minute episodes, which that went on to be the season from season 22. Which sadly, I think, the script. I think firstly Eric Saywood wasn't happy in the role of script editor, but also. They didn't know how to write 45-minute episodes of Doctor Who at the time. There were 2 25-minute episodes sandwiched together. But yeah, that was okay. That was a reason. Now it's a norm, right? So Time Meddler. For the first season, Doctor Who's historical episodes were just that, historical. No, they stopped being purely historical pretty early on, didn't they? Although, no, I take it. I mean, you had purely historicals. That was the Gunfighters, as I recall. Right? I don't know. That was in 1965, the Time Meddler. Set in 1066, the first Doctor and his companions are involved in their usual fare fair for time, getting accidentally mixed in with the historical bits and trying to avoid making any big alteration of the timeline. But this had several additional twists in the form of another rogue Time Lord, though they weren't called that yet, named the Meddling Monk. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty temple. Okay, so, yeah, introduced his Time Lords, right? Okay, so this introduced the mixed, like the steampunk semi-historicals. Okay. I just think, look, it was like that was 3 years in. That's basically what you had to do, right? I mean, it's the only way of moving it forward at that point. Stolen Earth Journey's in, and how does this change Doctor Who forever? It was one of the greatest cliffhangers of all time, right? I really thought it was regenerating, right? And I love that. To be continue. Boom, boom, that came up. I thought that was awesome, right? I thought it was absolutely awesome. I thought the payoff wasn't that great, right? Reality under under threat from Davros. Yeah, they just built this. It really, I mean, it fell apart with the next episode where they just didn't have the budget to realize it. You know, the Shadow Approximation was kind of lame, right? So he's about to the episode cliffhanger was in Journey's in opening moments, Rossi was resolved the unresolvable cliffhanger. Which last night I love that he was shot. He was running towards Rose. I forgot the whole thing. Right, he was running towards Rose, and then just about to get her, a Dalek comes out of nowhere and shoots him, right, and gets him done, and then he regenerates. What a great cliffhanger, right? In Journey's opening moments, Rossi resolves this unresolvable cliffhanger quite ingeniously by having the Doctor blast his excess regeneration energy into a handily placed hand, allowing himself to heal without changing his face. The process that he accidentally created a meta-crisis Doctor, a human clone of his 10th incarnation. So all's well that ends well. Rose gets to go off with a human Doctor on an alternate timeline, and the real Dr. David Tennant's fan favorite face. Job's a good one, except for one little quibble. Okay, 5 years later, when Stephen Moffat sat down to write Matt Smith's final episode, he was realizing if the Doctor's regeneration in Stolen Earth counted, and after he sneakily inserted a War Doctor between 8 and 9 for the Day of the Doctor, Matt Smith was actually the 13th Doctor. He had no more regenerations left. That's why I don't really think it counted, but it doesn't really matter. In response, Moffat wrote in The Time of the Doctor, where the Crack of the Wall story arc culminated with the Doctor getting a brand new set of lives on time, which they don't name the number of, interestingly enough. If Rosalie David literally picked any other solution to his big story on cliffhanger, Moffat's tenure as showrunner would have taken a very different course. Well, okay. I don't know. I think it's a bit like they took the bits and made up as they went on. TV movie. Yes, that slog that disturbed everybody. But it didn't seem that passionate to me, right? While the TV movie might have failed to have an effect on Karney, a half-human on his mother's side, it certainly set the tone what was to come by introducing the world a younger, more action-oriented Doctor. Fair enough. Okay, I agree with him. Yeah, it did introduce that. Fine. So McGann pulled a gun on himself and chased an ambulance. Yeah, okay. Well, it was made for an American audience, right? But yeah, no, it introduced. Yeah, the TV movie legitimately introduced spectacular action adventure into Doctor Who, right? I would love that it was there beforehand, but basically you had Tom Baker with a broken collarbone attacking a Sontaran. That's basically it. So the War Machines have this changed it very by going to the Hellfire Club, which is, again, one of the greatest moments in television history, I would say, ladies and gentlemen. So it's defending the War Machines. Yeah, no, this invented Doctor Who. Nowadays, the Doctor defending contemporary Earth from an alien invasion is so fundamentally woven into the fabric of the show that it's taken for granted that it will happen at least once a year. Well, I don't know. So it may be a surprise that it wasn't until the show's third season, the War Machines, the TARDIS found its way to contemporary Earth, contemporary 20th century. Story takes full advantage of the setting. Six's nightclub, the latest nightclub ever. Newly built landmark, post office tower, and the evil robots on the streets. They weren't that great. Although the War Machines never caught on as a potential Dalek replacements. Really, what a shock! They were hope the story's setting certainly did. I mean, it was the Doctor with the army as well. This is archetypal Doctor Who being created. Fine. Did they intend to do that? I don't think so. Brandon Morwood, fuck off. Fuck off. Okay? No. These people are not the Doctor, you dumb cunt. Right? Are you out of your mind? No, it wasn't until 2020 TARDIS show that where Christian was established that those mysterious faces seen 44 years previous were in fact the Doctor. No, again, he didn't even establish that. He hinted at maybe. Much better hint, much better solution is these were fake Doctors that the Fourth Doctor conjured to win the Mind Bending tournament. Wait, shut up! That's why I hate it. The Daleks. Well, yeah, that was kind of important to change the course of Doctor Who. This was no bug-eyed monsters, no BEMs, right? This was apparently Sidney Newman's directive when he and Verity Lamp were developing Doctor Who in 1963. But yeah, unfortunately for Newman, Terry Nathan had other ideas. It was Verity Lambert, right? And you should watch An Adventure in Space and Time, right? Where she sells it to it, where they have the scene where Verity Lambert is selling the Daleks to Sidney Newman, right? This is like white hot, right? It's so contemporary. Yeah, listen, it was a great bit of writing. An immediate hit on broadcast, the 7-part series eventually became known as The Daleks, Dead Planet initially. I remember when they released that on video, on 2 video cassettes. Man, can I find the Daleks VHS? Was it video box? Was it in 2 boxes? Where was it? No, video. It was. This is it. Yeah. I remember because it was in 2 sections. There you go. Sorry, let me pull this up. You can't really see it. That's a copy image address. Man, I was so excited when this came out, right? I really was. You really can't see it that well. But yeah, they basically added a sepia tone because it was like, but they didn't even do a special double box. They just did 2 boxes. Okay. This was apparently one of Sydney, so no BEMs. The hit on broadcast. Nathan was quickly commissioned to write Dalek Made the Earth, and many other writers turned their hands at creating their own fantastic space aliens. Without it, we might have got the Cybermen, the Ice Warriors, the Storm. That's an interesting point. You're right. I do agree with you, right? But I think what made the Daleks so... one thing that made them so relatable was they were so incredibly contemporary for the time, right? You had like the nuclear fallout had mutated them, right? It was so hip, and they were like little Nazi tanks, right? Remember, this is under 20 years since the end of World War II. So to put that in scale for you, right? It's 2024 now, so 2006 essentially. Right, it's not that far ago, right? It's not that far ago, but yeah, that is interesting. The Daleks not just changed it. I think it saved the show. So other than the Morbius Doctors, that wasn't quite as painfully dumb as I'm used to seeing. My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.